All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to GM Philosophy in the afternoon. I'm the GM Philosopher. The purpose of this channel is to empower game masters to run better games. And I welcome everyone. We got Stuart in the chat. We've got Dirty Socks in the chat, Arethico in the chat. It is super great to see all of you. I'm super happy to see you. Will someone drop me a comment? Let me know if let me know if my audio sounds okay. Mike Bell says, Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Today, sounds good? Excellent. All right. I have a new thing going with my mic. I mounted my mic kind of in this direction instead of mounting it to my desk. So hopefully all that thumping that sometimes happens when I touch my desk, hopefully that doesn't happen anymore. We've got Joey Kane in the chat. How's it going, Joey Kane? Not sure if we've met before, but welcome to the chat. Super great to have you. Live stream crew rolling out. Today, we're talking about a big update, like the big 5 months. Today is May 1st. This marks the 5th month of my paid Pro GM adventure. I have been running pro games since January 1st. Joey Kane says, doing good. I've been in for most of these, just don't comment too often. Nice, nice. Ludus says, can't wait to hear. Happy to see you in the chat, Ludus. Heck yeah. All right, guys. Now, just so for the people who may watch this later or who don't know, I'm the GM Philosopher, also known as Josh. I am a pro game master. I am a full-time game master, TTRPG YouTuber, and I also sell products and books. You can grab my paid GM guidebook, links in the description. This is basically the book describing how I went from 0 pro games to 5 full pro games on Start Playing. You can find all my tips, tricks, everything there. Basically, my how-to guide that I used to get there, and then also you can grab the advanced guide to TTRPG game mastery. That book is in the description as well. For about the price of 3 cups of coffee, you can grab both of those books. The advanced guide to TTRPG game mastery is basically my thesis on how to build campaigns and games that your players will love and keep coming back to with a lot of emotional buy-in. So I've been running games for over 24 years, and those 2 books are my latest releases. And in my opinion, super, super worth it. Excellent stuff. Really, all of my wisdom, all the important wisdom, put in those 2 books right now. And I'm getting ready to work on another one. But now it's time to talk about this update. So first of all, I'm going to give you an update. Then we're gonna go to the comments. It's questions and asks section. We've already got Stuart has dropped a question in here. Dirty Socks has dropped a question. Drop your questions and I'll get to them right after I get done with this update. So January 1st, I began my pro GM journey. A little before January 1st, I put my first Start Playing listing up. I had previously not really been into the idea of running pro games. But then as I learned more about it and I thought more about it, I came to believe that this was going to be an important thing for the hobby, an important thing for the craft of running TTRPGs. I believe that really good game masters should be running more games so that more players can have a great time, but it is cost prohibitive unless they're getting, some kind of compensation. So I believe that this is going to elevate the craft and evolve the craft to another level. So I believe very much in pro game mastering, and I would like to see it. I would like to see it increase. Hence, why I talk about it a lot on this channel, and I, also document my journey in this. Give you tips and tricks to help you maybe replicate it. Right. Speaking of which, my pro GM guild is almost full. There were only 6 available slots in that guild. But basically, that's going to be a group that I'm going to be involved with. So there's going to be 7 of us all together, and we're going to be making huge progress on our pro GM journey. If you want to make your pro GMing a legit side hustle or full-time income, then you may want to join that. Now, here's the thing. There's only 1 slot left. There's already 5 members in the group. It's filled up very fast. So the only way to join that is to join the GM Philosophy Discord. Links in the description. And you have to private message me, the GM Philosopher, and say, hey, I'm interested in the Pro Game Masters Guild, and I will schedule a call to interview with you. It is a paid group. So it is not a free opportunity, but it is an opportunity that could earn you like very, very high dividends on your time and your investment, because it's literally You're going to be in the group with me and other pro GMs who are taking this craft and this business to the next level. So you're not going to want to miss that if you want to grow with other awesome people. Plus, better to be with us than competing against us. I'm just going to say that right now because we're all going to be hitting the market, running hard, making the very best we can out of it. Dirty Sock says, how are the other GMs in there doing at this moment? So here's the update on that. We have scheduled we're scheduling our first meeting for literally next week. So the guild is officially going to launch next week. At this point, it has only been application conversations and basically, getting people into the private chat who make it through the application process. And then next week, we're going to meet for the first time and we're going to nail down goals. Right now, most of the people in that group are running pro games. A lot of the challenges that many of those members are hitting up against are marketing challenges and economic challenges. And so we're just going to crush those as we get in there. I'm going to definitely be able to help the members, basically solve those marketing challenges so that they can fill up their games and just get back to doing what they love, which is running awesome pro games. So yeah, it's going to be great. I have very, very high hopes. I believe that they're going to see drastic forward progress in a very short amount of time. So I'm very pumped to help do that. And I'm also pumped to just be hanging out with other people who are taking the craft that seriously and taking it to that level. I'm very excited about that. But of course, now, like I said, join the GM Philosophy Discord. Links in the description. Anyone can do that. But you have to join that and then DM me if you want to join the guild. And there's only one more seat. I may open up another group later in the summer, but for now, this is the first one, and I've got to test my proof of concept, right? If I can nail proof of concept and I can like figure out that this works really well and get my method down, then we're going to open another group. But for now, this is the only group. All right. So I began this journey back in the beginning of January. And then, I basically had my first game going. I filled my first game in January, launched a second game, actually launched like 4 more games. It was trial and error back then. In January, I didn't really, I'll be honest, there was a lot about this Pro GM game I didn't understand. I was learning fast, messing up a lot. I was also working my full-time job at the time. Thankfully, my life was kind of getting more peaceful. 2025 was a very chaotic time in my life. That kind of got wrapped up in November. And then, so I was able to kind of start fresh in January. And then we, got to work. In February was probably the most challenging month because I had like 3 games going, I think, in February, but I was having intense player churn. I was struggling with my onboarding process. I didn't really know how to make it work really well, but I kept trying different things. I kept on keeping on, not giving up, kept making videos, kept marketing. I kept, working on my newest product, my paid GM guidebook. I was documenting everything I was learning so that I could put it in that book. And so by the time, so it was January and then February. By the end of February, I was really feeling a lot better. In the beginning of February, I will admit I was pretty discouraged. And I thought, oh man, if I was going to quit, now would be the time. And I was even thinking to myself, I don't know that I even want to do this. This is so frustrating. There are so many things about this that are frustrating to me. And I don't understand why some of these problems are happening. But if you watch some of my videos, updates from back then, I'm just working through it. So now I really believe I've worked through it. And in the beginning of March, I took a big leap of faith, and I left my job to go back to full-time self-employment. Now, literally as of March 1st, made the jump to full-time pro game master, TTRPG YouTuber, and then developing my products like my books and stuff. So that's what makes up my business. And so March was the first month. So in March, I basically lived off of money I had set aside to live in March with the expectation that the business would begin paying me in April, right? So I was like, I got to figure this out fast, man. So I was working on it. And working on it through March. March was a rough month, but it was way better than February. My player churn dropped significantly. My tables all began to solidify. I really figured out my onboarding process. It seemed to work really well. I put a lot of new initiatives into place to like try to make the games tighter, make the games better. And I started doing new things with like session prep to try to make them better. I started working on my what I would call the perfect mainstream session formula. I started working on that. I believe I am at the spot where I believe I have almost perfected this formula. So I believe that my sessions that I'm running, I mean, this is what I think, and this is what I think the data tells me. I think that the sessions I'm running now are the best sessions I've ever run in my career, in my whole 24 years of running games. I think that the sessions I'm running currently, like every week, I think I'm probably running better sessions than the week before just because I keep trying to improve this process, this GM session formula. Okay. So, and basically, what I mean by that is having the right amounts of these four things in every session, the right amount of role play and drama, the right amount of combat, right amount of exploration and discovery, and then the right amount of loot. So this is like my thing. Um, so there's some great questions coming through. Just keep in mind, I will totally get to all these questions, answers as soon as I finish my update. So thank you so much for the questions. Great questions. We're just going to start at the top and go on down. All right. So here is what is going on now. It is in April. April was by far the best month. We made it through April. The business basically had to make enough money in March, right? That it could fund April. Not only keep the business lights on, but keep my personal lights on, because that's the time when the money I had set aside to live through March was going to be gone, right? So, you know, we're going hard at it, guys. We're in the trenches. I'm not messing around. I'm in it to win it, guys. Good questions coming through, guys. But anyway, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. I am aggressive when I'm doing something. Like I'm aggressive at this game, and when I say I'm aggressive at this game, it means, I mean, I wake up thinking about this game. I go to sleep thinking about this game, and I don't mean the game being D&D. I mean the game of the pro GM hustle and the YouTube hustle. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Like this is I am obsessed with this game and I love the game. I love waking up and checking my YouTube analytics. I love waking up and seeing the messages from the players on Discord. I love waking up and, seeing, if it's a game day, I love waking up, getting the session ready, putting the final little pieces to my prep for that session. When I go in to run a session, to me, it's like playing music or making a painting. It's like, let's create some art together. This is my mindset and I love it. It's very creative. When I'm in that session, nothing else matters. I don't care about the money. I don't care if my phone is going off. I put it on silent. I don't care if someone's knocking on my door. They can come back later, right? When I'm in the game, I'm in it to win it. And there's nothing more important than that. And that's just my psychology. And I'm not saying that I had to program myself to do that. That's my natural state of being. It always has been. So I've always loved TTRPGs. I've always loved YouTube. So this is a perfect game for me. I found out what I want to do and am very committed to it and willing to do a lot, probably more than most people, to make it happen. So with that being said, let's now, man, there's such good questions coming through. I almost want to take a little break here and answer some of these questions. I'm give me 5 to 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to get into the questions because there's such good questions coming through. But let's continue with this update. Okay. Now we're at the beginning of May. April was a great month. Business wise, I mean, the business grew a lot in April, like as far as income goes. Very, very awesome. Also, quality of the games really went up. Tables solidified. Really, really awesome players now in all the games, like solid people. Really, really happy with this. I had my first like requested kind of like custom game in April. The Hag Spawn of Utapu is a new game that I started just last week. It literally launched with a full group because it was populated by existing players who wanted me to launch that game. So that was a new experience for me. And that was really awesome, getting to launch a game that was already full and that had been literally requested by the players. And then the first session of that went really well. So I have very high hopes for that game. I think it's going to be really, really fun. So, it's just, I've got 5. They're almost full. There are a couple of the games with like 1 slot open, but basically 5 full games. Now let's talk a little bit about the economics of this. Okay. Running pro games, the economics is not fantastic. It does not scale well. So it's only 1/3 of my, the 3-pronged approach to my income streams. Running games is kind of like having a job. You work an hour, you get paid, right? You're basically getting paid by number of hours you put into it. So, if you can only run so many games before you reach the end of available time. That's why I'm running 5 games instead of like 15 games, because I want to put time into YouTube. YouTube is way more scalable, but it takes way more time, right? So in other words, from January to now, May 1st, I was able to build 5 full-time games. And then there's income coming from those games every week, but YouTube also has income coming in, but the ad revenue from YouTube is not very much, and it takes longer to build that up, right? So with that being said, though, YouTube can scale so high. So YouTube is a big priority, but also ad revenue isn't as good as it used to be. So selling products becomes a very important part of YouTube ad revenue. So that's why I have books that I publish and I sell, right? This helps to fund basically that other part of the business. And when you put all these 3 together, they are providing a full-time income, though it is not the income I want or need. I do have an income goal for the end of the year. Right now, I don't like to throw out numbers for these things. That's more something I'm going to be discussing more in depth in the Pro Game Masters Guild, because that's a little, I don't know, there might come a time when I'm going to share specific numbers, but I don't like to share specific numbers about my income and my income goals, because that seems a little personal to me. It's kind of behind the doors of the business. So I try to talk about it in a little bit more vague terms. So with that being said, though, let's just say that in April, business performed very well, made enough to pay all the bills and more, but it is not where I need it to be. What I need the income to get to is a December goal. And I have an income goal for December, and I'm aiming for that number. And if we can get there, that'll be amazing. And I believe we're on track to get there. It's just going to take a lot. I've got to be thinking about the next steps a couple months in advance so I can prepare for them, right? So with that being said, things are going really, really well. The games are going better than ever. The YouTube is going very well. I'm learning every day about YouTube even more. It's a thing that I will never, you never reach the limit of your knowledge. You can just keep learning about these things, and you have to. And then also, I am working on a new book, which is, I think, a very important book. The 2 most important books I think I've published thus far have been my paid gym guidebook for pro gyms who want to emulate what I'm doing. On Start Playing, you can find that in the description. And then also the Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery is all about so the part of it where I keep awesome players in my games and try to give them a really good experience, try to give them, make them have emotional buy-in, like that. Those skills are in that book. And those are skills I've learned over running games for 24 years. Though I will say that in this later chapter, I've really, really learned even more about that. But it is in that book, the Advanced Guide to TTRPG Mastery. So you can grab those books for about the price of 3 cups of coffee. You can learn pretty much all the most important things you need to know about how to make this business work, or even how to make your games work at home, because there's a lot of information in there that'll help gamers who are just running for friends and family too, right? Which is, don't discount them. They're very important game masters. Here on the channel, we want to support all game masters, whether you're in the pro space or it's a hobby space for you, doesn't matter. It's still an important part of the craft. So with that being said, in May, the goal is to outperform April in income, and to build upon the success that's already been here and to launch new initiatives. The Pro Game Masters Guild is going to officially start in May. I'm also launching another initiative in May, which might come as a little bit of a surprise. I published a video not too long ago about like health dangers of game masters. Like, I've been doing some research, and game masters actually face a number of unique like health challenges. Because it's a hobby that generally requires a lot of sitting for prolonged periods of time. It's associated with a lot of like eating kind of like junk food and fast food. It's associated with like not getting very much sleep, high caffeine intake, sometimes drinking, like drinking alcohol and things like that. It can be a hobby that's kind of unhealthy. And I have definitely figured out that I want to improve my health this year. That's another one of my big initiatives in this year. So I am actually, and keep an eye on this, I haven't launched it yet, but in May, I'm going to be launching a health and wellness group for like D&D Game Masters and players. It's going to be hosted in my Discord. There's going to be a private group for it. That is going to be really awesome. I do not have it launched yet. I do not have details for it yet, but keep an eye on that. And if you're interested in that, drop a comment somewhere and let me know you're interested. I'd like to gauge kind of who might be interested, but I'm picturing things like, if someone has a weight loss goal, like maybe every day they check in with their initial weight, their target goal weight, and then what they weighed in as today, and then kind of like what went good and what went bad, kind of like an accountability encouragement group. So some people want to lose weight. Some people want to put on muscle. They're working out at the gym. Some people are training for a marathon. Some people are trying to, clean up their diet. Maybe some people are trying to stop drinking, so like health and wellness, whatever the health and wellness goals are, we're going to like establish goals and then every day check in and like talk about them. I may put a limit on how many people I let in that group. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm still trying to plan it out, but this is another initiative I'm going to launch in May because I think this is really important and it will motivate me to also get in shape because I got to lose some weight. I got to put on some muscle. I want to train again. I want to start running again, things like that. Raven Saint says, sounds good. It is hard for a lot of people to find support groups. Yep. Dirty Sock says, sounds a bit like an AA meeting. Hi, I am Josh and I weigh. Well, AA is actually a pretty successful program. I've never been to AA, but it actually has a pretty successful, like it has a pretty proven track record, if I'm not mistaken. So that sounds to me like a compliment. All right, let's get to some of these questions. We have some awesome questions coming in here. Stuart says, rate your top 3 VTTs, then rate the top 3 VTTs that are free. I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed by this one. I don't have very much experience with VTTs. Here's my experience. I have only run Roll20 and Owlbear Rodeo. Those are the only VTTs I've actually run. And I choose Owlbear Rodeo because to me, I just need something simple. I'm not like a really technical VTT game master. I just need to be able to have a nice map. I need to be able to move tokens around and have a little dynamic lighting, be able to put monsters on the map. That's all I really need right now. I choose Owlbear Rodeo. There is a free version. I pay for it every month. It's super worth it. I think with the free version, you get like 3 rooms free or something. But then if you want more rooms, which are like your campaigns or whatever, then you want to pay for it. I just pay for it. I think there's also a storage limit if you don't pay for it, but it's just super worth it. It's really cheap too. It's like $5 a month or something. And if you're running pro games, it's a business write-off, man. But anyway, I have been a player on Roll20. I've played on Foundry. I've played on Maps, the D&D Beyond, like Maps VTT. That's all my experience. I experimented a tiny bit with Sigil when that was a thing. Wasn't a fan of it. for a lot of reasons. Actually, even deeper than, not only did I not think it worked very well, but also I am not necessarily interested in the video gamification of D&D. Some GMs are getting into that, and that's super valid. It's not for me though. Um, okay, now with that being said, my favorite is, I mean, Owlbear Rodeo. I mean, I know it, I like it. It is very simple. It does everything I need it to do. It's still smarter than me. So I haven't hit up against the limiter on that yet. Um, I think that you can do better things with Roll20 and Foundry if you're going to go into the more technical aspects of it. Like there are people who do animations. They have like a lot of assets to make the game really, really like, fun and honestly more like a video game. If you're going in that direction, then I kind of think Roll20 or Foundry are by far better. But anyway, there's my answer. Sorry, it's a little disappointing. Maps, D&D Beyond Maps was cool. I had no issue with that. Herminator, I played in a one shot with Herminator on maps, and it was a cool VTT. I do know that there are some kind of weird things about it. You can't just put tokens on, they have to be associated with a stat block and stuff. But, I mean, it was cool. I liked it. So, anyway, sorry if that's kind of a disappointing answer, but that's my answer. Dirty Sock says, what toothbrush do you use? All right, let's talk about this. I buy a new toothbrush about every 3 months. I usually go to either Walmart or the Dollar Tree, and I'll buy a new toothbrush, and I'll just buy a medium bristle strength toothbrush. I don't know. I'll try to buy one that looks like it'll be sturdy. I don't want the bristles falling out. So I'll buy like a good one, I guess. Like one with I will say a lot of bristle area to get the big brushing in. And yeah, there you go. No particular brand, just whatever stands out to me at the time. Try to replace my toothbrush like every 3 months or so. All right. Let's see. Arethico says, hey now, how's it going, Arethico? Let's see. What other questions we got in here? Okay, Dirty Socks asks, did you already decide for your next product to work on? The Dummies book for TTRPG players? And then Stuart asked a similar question. Think we need the Dummies book for TTRPG DMs because I find the players are better and more knowledgeable than the GMs. Okay, so here's my next book I'm going to write. I'm going to write a book for players, and it's going to be for GMs to like give to their players, and it's going to be a very kind of easy to digest book where it's going to be like how to be the dream player that every GM loves. That's going to be the book basically. And it's just going to be a book for players to learn. It's very simple how to be a better D&D player, not only to make the game more fun for themselves, but also to help them work together with the GM better to co-create the story of their characters. That is the next book I'm going to write. And I'm very excited about it. And I have started the very, very basic beginnings of it, but it's going to be probably a couple months till that one comes out. But that is going to be the next book that I write for sure. Mike Bell says a couple things here. If it's not overstepping, what percentage of your income comes from the Pro Jam space versus the books and content you create? And then a follow-up to that was replacing 100% income with Pro Jam tables seems daunting and a recipe for burnout. That's a very good question. Okay, let me answer the first one first. What percentage of my income comes from the pro game space? So right now it is about roughly probably 50 to, depending on the month, 50 to 60% of my income right now. I think 50 to 60. It might be more like 40 to 60 because the book sales can vary so much. Probably 40 to 60% of my income comes from the pro games right now. And then the rest of it comes from YouTube and book sales. I kind of put those together. It's three like businesses, got three parts of the business, but the YouTube and the books I kind of put together because I don't know, that just putting that income together kind of makes sense to me. So that's about what it is, right? And like I said, right now, like I mean, I'm paying the bills, but we gotta crank them numbers up. Right. We got to crank them number. I've got much bigger income goals to hit than just paying the bills. So keep following along because I'm on the adventure, guys. I'm not rich yet. Just because I'm running, some awesome games, got some awesome stuff going on YouTube doesn't mean I'm rolling in cash, guys. We got to really, really crank those cash numbers up, man. And the answer is not to run more pro games because that doesn't scale very well. If anything, one of the huge pieces of value that comes from running the pro games is that I can take insight and inspiration from those games and then talk about it on YouTube. It's such good content for my YouTube channel. And that helps me to help more game masters than I could ever run games for players, right? I can only run games for so many players, but I could help thousands of game masters through my content, right? So that's a much more scalable, bigger, long-term thing, right? But running the games helps to give me that content. Now, Mike Bell says, replacing 100% income with pro GM tables seems daunting and a recipe for burnout. Okay, so here's the thing. You do have to be careful about not burning out. I think, so what is burnout? I'm going to tell you how I define burnout. Burnout occurs when you're putting a ton of work in and you're not getting anything out of it. You're working basically for nothing and it feels like a waste of time. That's what creates burnout. In my experience, people do not burn out when they are doing a lot of work and then getting great rewards from it. That doesn't really lead to burnout. Now, here's what I'm going to say. One of the amazing things about working for yourself and being an entrepreneur, or more like I'm more of a solopreneur. I'm not really an entrepreneur. Let's classify a little more narrow and call me a solopreneur. One of the amazing things about this is that if I work really hard and do a very good job at what I do, I will tend to make way more money than I would have made working an hour at my JOB. If I, at my JOB, whether I was just slacking or sitting around or working very, very hard, I made the same amount and it was very, very unscalable. You can only work so many hours a week, right? So, but at a job, it's so much easier for me to burn out because I'm a type 3 Enneagram. I'm a very aggressive work person. I want to just, I would say it's difficult to find someone who can outwork me side by side. Like I am a very, very, very aggressive worker when it comes to me working on things I care about. I tend to be like kind of a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist. I understand those pitfalls, but I want to be proud of the work I do. I put a lot of effort into the things I do and I always analyze and try to better it. So like I very quickly get burnt out at JOBs, jobs. I do not get burnt out doing this because I feel like when I do good work and show up and I price it right and my business model is right, I get massive rewards for the hard work I do. So I do not get burnt out at this. What I get, I feel like, are periods of hard work and then a win. And then that's really nice. That's like an emotional win for me. And emotional wins for me, they like reset the clock. It's like when I get an emotional win, it like neutralizes all the stress. I level up and it's time to go for the next level. Right. So that's how I feel about it. So like, there is a lot of work and there is fear. But I could have left my JOB and grinded for 2 months, failed to pay my bills, and then be crawling back to my JOB and be like, hey, can I have my job back, please? Can I please have my job back? In fact, I told them all when I left, I said, well, if things go bad, I may be back asking for my job back. And they were, of course, like, they were like, we don't hope it goes badly for you, but we would love to have you back. That was like their attitude. So it's like, please do. If you ever need another job, please come back. But anyway, so it was very good. That was a very nice thing. But there's my answer to that, Mike Bell. Really good question. Super good question. Pan Piper says late to the party. Never, Pan Piper. Super happy to have you here. Love to have you. Super excited to game with Poe in the upcoming timeline crossover event. I believe Poe is going to be in every single session. Good. They're going to need all the healing they can get. Ludus Dominus says, why choose D&D over any other game system? Okay, so that's a good question. And then Pan Piper says, because that's where the players are. So that's actually a really good question. I do like D&D, and there's an element. So it is where the players are, and it is the most popular TTRPG. So with that being said, I like the energy that comes from playing the biggest system, like the most popular system. I think that that's fun. I like to be in that space where I'm playing what is the most popular thing. Um, I do like D&D. I think it's really fun. My whole experience with D&D, going from playing 3rd edition and then 3.5, and then we got 5th edition and then now 5.5, and then just like all of the talk about the different systems, and then how the monsters change, how the classes, like all of that, like the lore of just the game publications itself is really fun to me, and I enjoy it. I've got a very rich history. I mean, it's pretty much just the big boy in the space, right? I also like D&D. Like I literally like I think D&D 5e is a really fun system, and I think that I don't feel any need to change systems. I will probably play other systems. I have played other systems. I've never played a system that has held my attention like D&D, other than my own homebrew system. But for what I'm doing and for the other gamers who love D&D, like D&D is so much fun. So anyway, that's why I choose D&D over any other game system, because I honestly love it the most. Stuart says 12 watching, only 4 likes. Smash that thumbs up button, please. Make me happy with a big old thumbs up smash. Thank you so much. Raven Saint says that sounds good. Or no, I'm sorry. Mike Bell says that dollar number is a private thing. Yeah, right now I kind of feel like I don't know. I kind of like keep it private. I don't know. I may feel different about that in May. Let's see how I feel about it in May. Raven Saint says that sounds good. It is hard for a lot of people to find support groups. Oh, we were talking about the weight loss thing. Yeah, I think so too. Let's see. Raven Saint is Raven Graham. Oh, nice, Raven. Good to see you. Nice to have you in the chat. Mike Bell says, I love what I can do with Foundry. Oh, 100%. Yeah, Foundry is amazing, especially if you know how to use it. Raven says, D&D Beyond is playing around with VTT. It's in beta right now and seems to only really shine with master tier sub. That would make sense to me. D&D is becoming a very online, pay by the month subscription model business. I mean, do you blame them? Like, how else are they going to maintain the revenue? Dirty Sock says, good gift for Christmas, that book for players. I agree. Jeff Twyla's in the chat says the story point system is inspired. However, it can completely subvert any foreshadowing or threat assessment in a matter of seconds. Is there a way of polishing the story point system going forward? Okay, so True 911 says, dude, where can we find your merch? The only merch I have are ebooks I've published. You can find the links in the description. But Twyla, okay, so the story point system, it can completely subvert any foreshadowing or threat assessment in a matter of seconds. Okay, so here's the thing about the story point system. It's designed to be big in the beginning when the players are lower level, and then obviously it gets more difficult to use as the levels go on, because at first it only takes 5 storyline points to like make a big thing happen, but then it'll be 10 after that, then it moves to 15, and then at the later levels it takes 20 storyline points. So that's kind of my idea for scaling it. I have really enjoyed that the players have used it to great effect to do crazy things in the games. I think it's been very fun. It is a resource. It's just like an extra resource, but it's gonna, obviously, because of that scale, it's gonna get less and less common to see it used as players level up. I believe that is a pretty good polish at later levels. I am interested in hearing player feedback about it. If you have any feedback about it, I'd love to hear it, because it is a new system. I only just implemented it for the Darkest Dawn, and I do not. I have no experience with this. It's brand new, so I'm super interested in hearing. What people think about it. Ludus Dominus says the players should be just as good at the rules, if not better, when it comes to the rules. To put all the weight on the GM for everything is pretty selfish. So I think that players, it is in their best interest. It is in their best interest to know the rules. They can advocate better for themselves. They can have faster turns. That would be one item I'd put in my player's book, is know the rules, especially as they pertain to your class and subclass. If you don't know how to run your character, the truth is you're going to slow the game down. And I do understand there are new players who don't know very well. However, with 3 or 4 different sessions, and by the time you've been in a couple combats, you should be able to run your character pretty well. So I kind of, Ludus, I kind of agree with you. I do kind of agree with you. And I think that players who consistently fail to learn how to run their characters right, that's kind of like lazy playing a little bit. And it does get in the way. And maybe even more than being a pain for the GM, it's going to become a burden for other players, right? So I kind of agree with you. And I don't see that you're wrong in that. Panpiper says, could use that How to Be a Better Player book. I'd be curious to know if I'm missing something. Be nice if I could act in character. I think you act great in character. Panpiper, I've had a lot of fun gaming with you. I think you're a great player. I like that you message me all the things like you're thinking about that you want to do and that you're detailed in it. And I like that you bring things up when you want to talk about them. This is very welcome. I love it when players message me. A lot of my players now, they message me, talking about the games, talking about problems, talking about if another character or player is bothering them. And I like to hear about this stuff. And I think that communication is key. So far, so great. Keep up the good work as far as is what I would say. Just keep up the good work. Dirty Sock says, do you think if the popularity shifts to another TTRPG, would you rather change TTRPG systems? For example, Shadow Dark. I find it very hard to believe that in the next 20 years, Shadow Dark will overshadow D&D. If for some reason D&D were to take a big fat dump and Shadow Dark were to surge ahead and everyone wanted to play Shadow Dark and it literally became the #1 TTRPG consistently, yes, I would switch to Shadow Dark. Ludus Dominus says, I played it up until a couple years ago. I just burnt out on the superhero style and how they took the dark and grime away and made it soft. So this is a common criticism of D&D. I do understand this. However, I feel like D&D is designed to be a game to tell the stories of heroic characters that do have a certain amount of plot armor, obviously. And I do not have issue with that. I don't really have a big issue with that. I think that you can make it darker and you can make it more destructive, but the D&D has changed. It went from originally being more of a meat grinder system, which we would now call a meat grinder. It went from that to, being more of a heroes with plot armor who are powerful superheroes, like exactly what you're saying, Dominus. So it was like, I personally don't have much issue with this because I find that I think that mainstream players, so when I say mainstream players, I mean, I think that the vast majority of players, that appeals to them a lot. We grew up watching superhero movies, watching movies about iconic heroes who were able to overcome crazy odds and survive. I would say one exception to that whole thing has been like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was an example of a fantasy book series and show that completely stepped away from that whole thing. The heroic characters kind of thing, plot armor. I mean, that's been around since like Lord of the Rings, right? But Game of Thrones took a very different step, but that's a little bit more recent. I didn't grow up with Game of Thrones. I mean, I was younger when the books were coming out. I didn't read the books. I had no exposure to Game of Thrones till the show came out. So, but I did grow up reading Lord of the Rings, reading The Hobbit. I watched I didn't read C.S. Lewis, but I watched all the Narnia movies. Remember those old PBS made for TV movies of the Chronicles of Narnia? I loved those. I watched them over and over and over and over again. I would rent them from the library. I kind of grew up with that. This is the main character and they have some plot armor, and yeah, they may be in danger and it's tense, but they're probably going to pull through. And that is, I think, what we're seeing in D&D. And I kind of like it. I'm not opposed to the other ways of playing, but I just think that it makes for a more, I would say, universally enjoyed experience. Stuart says, what do you think the next big TTRPG will be? Anything that might topple D&D? No, I believe, I fully expect that for the next 20 years, D&D is going to be the main system. People love to hate it. They love to talk smack on it. And there are good systems out there. I have no doubt that Shadow Dark is good. Vampire of Masquerade or whatever is a good system. GURPS was okay. I did play a lot of GURPS. I didn't like not being able to roll all my polyhedrals. I want to roll polyhedrals. I don't want to roll 6-sided dice. If I want to do that, I play Yahtzee. And I like Yahtzee, but that's different, obviously, right? I think D&D is going to be the main big boy for a long time. If something is going to overshadow D&D, I'll be really honest with you. I almost wonder if Daggerheart might not be poised to have the most likelihood of that happening. I have not played Daggerheart, but here's the thing. Everyone I've talked to who has played Daggerheart has loved it. They've loved it. And it sounds like they have done a lot of really interesting things to kind of play on it. And I almost wonder if Daggerheart isn't like the more highly evolved version of D&D. Like maybe they are getting ahead of D&D in terms of like making the game fun, fixing some problems. Like I've heard that Daggerheart is way better for like role play solutions than D&D is mechanically. I've not played it. I don't know. This is what I've heard. I almost wonder. So Daggerheart right now is not in any position to topple D&D, but when Daggerheart 2.0 comes out, when Daggerheart 3.0 comes out, they're going to be gaining traction. By the time Daggerheart reaches its 3rd edition, is it going to be competing in the same weight class? I actually think that there's a good chance that that'll happen. That's my prediction. Of all of the TTRPGs I know of in the whole space, the one that I think has the most potential to topple D&D would be Daggerheart. And I actually might get into Daggerheart if it catches on a little bit more, because I think it sounds really cool. It sounds hella cool to me. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Matt Mercer is sharp. He knows a lot about this game, and he knows a lot about this craft. And, the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be totally wrong about this, but isn't that Critical Role's TTRPG? Like, isn't that team the Critical Role team who made that? I think so. If I'm wrong about that, I'm really wrong about that. But I think that's true. And if that's true, those people know a lot about the game. They know a lot about the fundamentals of how to make the game good. And that's powerful. That's very powerful. They're like in the trenches. People love to hate them too, but they're awesome. They're awesome at this craft. Okay, so let's see here. Luda says Shadow Dark seems like the 30-second shorts version of TTRPGs. There's no long game. It's all dopamine and video game mechanics. Oh, really? That is so interesting to hear you say. I've never heard anyone say that about Shadow Dark. That is very interesting. I've never played Shadow Dark, so I can't really comment on that. But that's very interesting to hear you say. Most people I talk to who play Shadow Dark say things like Shadow Dark takes a lot of the complicatedness out of the mechanics, and it opens up a lot more room to role play because you're not spending so much time on mechanics. It's simplified, and it's also more, it's like automatically less plot armory main character syndrome. That's what I've heard from people who play Shadow Dark. Dirty Sock says, what is the price for the GM Guild that will kickstart in May? So that I have not publicly released, but I will go ahead and say that what we're doing is we're going to run a month for free as a proof of concept before pricing kicks in. And then people will get a chance to see the value it has to bring. And if they wish to stay in it, then we'll start having a monthly cost. And that monthly cost is going to be $200 a month per member. So roughly like $50 a week, basically. That's going to be the price on it. Raven Saint says, Palladium should make a VTT version. They are losing out on getting back into the RPG crowd. I don't know anything about Palladium. If you've played it, Palladium Rifts. Oh, okay. I have heard about that. I don't know anything about that, in fact. But, game systems that have their own VTT, this is probably a good thing. This is a good thing. Games and Graphics says D&D was built as a war-style game and became more role-playing over the years. Daggerheart is built for role-playing. Yes, Daggerheart is Critical Role game they released. Okay, gotcha. So I was right. I was a little worried. Maybe I was wrong about that. I was doubting myself there. Okay, so D&D, war-style game. I totally see that, and I do think that D&D has been. I'll be honest. 5.5 has still been slow to incorporate more robust role play mechanics. Let's just put it that way. They leave it pretty easy, and I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. But I've heard people say this about like critical or about Daggerheart. I've heard people say that Daggerheart actually makes it to where there are mechanics and it sort of almost like forces role play, right? In that it's a good thing it does it. In the same way that when you're in combat, it forces you to describe where you're going to put your spell and you have to roll dice, blah, blah, blah. Like I've heard Daggerheart does this with role play. And that to me sounds like a really cool thing. It does sound like a cool thing. I don't know to what extent that is true, but I am very interested in that. Ludus Dominus says Palladium is at the start of redoing all of its books. They are also interested in their own VTT, but they are busy rewriting all their books and getting everything updated. They just released TMNT. Is that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles redo? Heck yeah, man. I grew up watching the Ninja Turtles, man. I always thought that Leonardo was the coolest Ninja Turtle with his katanas. I always thought he was the coolest. But I did like all of them. And I kind of thought Raphael was like the second coolest. He was very edgy and he had the forks, whatever. Very, very cool. All right. Everyone, thank you so much. These were some great questions. Awesome. Awesome questions. Great conversation. I've really enjoyed talking to everybody. Make sure you join the GM Philosophy Discord if you haven't done it already. Links in the description. We'd love to have you in there. Make sure that you come back for another live stream. Guys, I try to live stream Tuesday through Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So like this, the days I don't live stream are Sunday and Monday. And the reason I don't is because of my pro game schedule. It just gets so crazy those days that I do not really have time to live stream. So I try to live stream. And so, yeah, make sure you smash the subscribe button if this is the channel for you. Empowering Game Masters run better games is the goal. Roll some D100s for me at your next game, everyone. And I will see you on the next one.